Who of you knows this thing? So probably mostly everybody, yeah. Why do I show this? This doesn't have to do anything with my talk, actually. It's just to establish that I'm a nerd. So this is the C64, one of the first available home computers, and that's what I spent my youth with. Which first tells you I'm a nerd, and second tells you I'm right now about in my midlife crisis, so I need to get a midlife crisis hobby. Porsches, nope, doesn't work for me. Back pain. I don't get in and out of these things anymore. 20-year-old younger girlfriend doesn't work because, as I said, nerd. So I went with my brother to the Modellbahn Wunderland, the model railway wonderland in Hamburg. If you're ever there, go there. It's brilliant. It's, I don't know how many square meters of model railways, and it's big fun. Model railways in Germany are kind of, you see this guy, this is the former president of Bavaria, which is about the most uncool guy ever. So this is kind of the image of model railways. And when I looked up this picture, I found this quote which says that model trains are about role play. It's usually creative and skilled people, but they also control freaks, and they want to have control about their mini Wonderland world. And yeah, so I was a bit scared, but I remembered my father had a model railway, so I wanted to start one as well. And there are different gauges. So there's from gauge 2, which is 1 to 22, which is just the garden railways, to Z, which is just tiny. I settled for the middle for N scale. As a motive for my railway or scenery, I choose Streitberg Station, which is just around the corner here. So that's 20 kilometers from Erlangen, which is kind of a tiny little branch railway. And the advantage there is nothing has changed in the last 80 years, so you don't need to bother about if you're period correct or something like that. That's the plan I came up with, 1.70 meters by 70 centimeters, which fits exactly a hole which I had in my bedroom. So next to the clothes cabinet is now the model railway. And yeah, I started mounting everything. You see, I'm not married. I can do that in my living room. You start just with making a base plate out of wood, just mounting everything together and making a whole mess of your living room. And then you start mounting the tracks on top. Landscape, you do just by styrofoam and some modeling paste or papier-mâché or something like this on top of it. And yeah, so I haven't done this in years, and it's a bit like, well, in primary school I learned how to model stuff, but how does it work? There are lots of YouTube tutorials. So there's really nice, interesting international things. There's, for example, there's Luke Towan, is an Australian guy who's really fun to watch. There's a huge bunch of British model railway channels, and you can learn a lot there. You can get a lot of special tools, but there's also the do-it-yourself way of doing things. So to apply static grass, which is the little tiny grass which sticks out a bit, you can either buy the Grassmaster 2000 for, I don't know, 150 euros, or you can get an electric flycatcher, modify it a bit with a kitchen sieve, and you're done. Trains, of course, your trusty local model railway shop, but unfortunately the one in Erlangen closed down 2 years ago. So it's mostly eBay and some internet shops where you can get stuff. And if you get the used stuff, they're still affordable. So you can get the really expensive stuff, but okay. Peak nerd is, of course, when you go to Tokyo, Akihabara, the electronic city. First, there are stores for everything. So the store on the bottom left, this guy just sells resistors and only resistors. There are also a lot of model train shops in Japan. And if you're in Japan, go and visit them. And they all have these layouts because in Japan, I think the flats are so small that you cannot have a model railway. So they have these layouts where you can just rent an hour and play there. And it's just interesting what kind of people are there. Peak then was when last summer I went to the Chaos Communication Camp from the German Computer Club, and somebody brought a light railway locomotive just because. And I spent all the day running around with that locomotive. So we did regular train service, which ended up having a small IKEA shelf layout with a light railway. So this fits in a standard EVA IKEA shelf. And you can run your train back and forth and have a couple of switches and have fun. So to get the nerd aspect even further, of course, I want to automate things and control everything from a computer or a mobile phone. So there are these cheap microcontrollers which you can hook up, which is a whole different project in itself. So this is the perfect Corona hobby because there's so much stuff you can just do and add. And speaking of Corona, I started Googling around what happened in the city where my godchildren live, in Braga. So hello, Nuno, if you're watching. And hello, godchildren. They had a tram railway. So I'm now building a little tram railway layout. And a friend of mine or colleague from mine works at a heritage line here next where the Streitberg line also belongs to. And I'm now also playing with real trains. So this went really, really downhill after going to the Modelbahn Wunderland. So thank you. And just want to say if you have a heritage railway or heritage whatever museum, please support them. They need you now because you cannot really visit them right now. So whatever they do to raise money, they need the money to get their stuff running.
Oh. Danke.
Yeah, thank you. Danke.